with our presentation from our very good friend Micah Gaudette, who is the Deputy City Manager in Maricopa, Arizona. And every month on the first Wednesday of the month, he does an amazing presentation for us on something related to AI and local government. And Micah, we're so glad to have you, man. And we were just talking earlier about the expansiveness of AI and what that's doing to people in terms of identity and work. And yet, one of the things I really appreciate about what you're doing is you're showing us how we can use it and make our lives easier. And so, help us along with that. And House and I'll be here. I know he is in a convention this week, and so we don't have all of the exact technology that we normally have. So if something goes wrong, Halson and I will pop up. We'll talk a little bit about it until Micah can join us again. But Micah, thanks for being here, taking time to present as always, and we want to turn it over to you.
Well, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Hassan, and Lisa as well too. And thank you to everyone joining us today on this call. Um, as mentioned, if there's any audio or technical difficulties, please know it is 100% on my end and not on the wonderful team at SGR. I'm in a conference in San Jose, so blame California, blame me if you want to, but don't blame the kind folks at SGR. So with that being said, last time it seems I almost said last week, but it was actually last month. That's how fast October seems to fly by. Last month we talked about agentic AI, and we just barely scratched the surface of what agentic AI even is. I think we went through a couple of examples, and I want to take another time. I talked to Lisa about this as well too from SGR because we just wanted to provide some little more detail about what agentic AI is, and to give you some examples of maybe some ways in which you could think about and approach agentic AI in your organization. Now, I'll give two things before we kind of get started into the use case. Number one, we're we're dipping our toe into a water that is rather complicated, right? There's some really great things which we can do with agentic AI, and there's some serious risks that are associated with it too. So it does take careful consideration by our municipal authorities. To quote an Atlantic article from the 1890s. So just keep that in mind when we're doing that. Always have those open dialogues with your legal team, with your cybersecurity and your IT and your team members actually doing the real work to make sure this is something that is appropriate and right for you and your local jurisdiction. Make sure that's all set and good. The second thing I want to say too is typically if you've been part of these Wednesday webinars for at least on the AI side of things, you know that I like to typically give a number of different examples of use cases. And I do that for a very specific reason, right? It's not just hey, here's a cool use cases and have fun and that kind of just impress people or things like that. The goal is to provide everyone, whether you're working in the streets department, whether you're a police officer, whether you're a fire chief, whether you're an HR director, I want you all to come away with something of value from these webinars. And I know that's one of the reasons why SGR puts these things on, is to provide value to those who are spending an hour with us, hanging out and watching a webinar, right? We want to provide value to you, the viewers. So normally I do 2 or 3 different examples or 3 to 5 examples, depending on the time constraints we have. For today, I'm actually going to go through just one example. And I'm doing that for a couple of reasons. Number one is agentic AI and building something like this we're about to build takes time. And I want you to make sure you understand that these types of systems and going through this type of thing takes a considerable investment of time. I think it's worth it on the back end of things, but it does take a significant investment of time. And the second thing is, I think this is a use case that will have broad applications across all of local government, no matter what area you're in. If you're in public works, or if you're in budget, or if you're a HR professional, or you're in public safety or in city management, I think this will be applicable. And I'm going to lean on you all who are watching this to draw the connections between what I'm about to show you and then the areas in which that could be applied into your area of expertise, into your area of responsibility within your community. So with that being said, let's dive in. I'm going to show you what we're about to do here. So what we're about to do, let's see here, is we are going to take this guy right here. This is from the city of Fairfield, Iowa. This is their capital improvements plan from 21 to 25. And what we're simply going to do here is we're going to take that and then we're going to turn that into this right here, which is a completely interactive dashboard, almost like a transparency portal for your CIP plan. And again, hopefully you can see the different, the connections already. Hopefully those connections are you're fired off in your brain right now when it comes to any type of data that you have, any type of report that you have, the ability to translate that from a 37-page PDF or a 137-page PDF, to be able to translate that into transparency dashboards and things that our public can use, things that our staff can use to track progress, to see where things are going, to see what kind of funding sources there are. That's what we're going to try to do today in today's webinar. So I'm going to share my screen here and I'm going to show you, bear with me 1 second. And just off the gate, in case you can see the, I'm going to minimize my face over here. There we go. So this is an hour and 14 long video. Don't be worried. We're not going to get through the entire hour. There's a lot of dead space in here, so we're going to skip ahead from the dead space, and we'll get to the end with plenty of time for questions and comments. And I always appreciate all the insights that everyone on the call and Mike and Hassan have as well. So we're started here. This is a tool called Replit. It's one of my favorite tools. It's kind of a vibe coding type of tool. And we're just going to basically, do this quick here. Let's re-zoom it. There we go. We're just going to say, describe what we want to make. Again, I'm using conversational language to build this. So what I'm telling it now is I'm saying, I want to turn my capital improvement plan, this published report, this PDF, the 37 pages that probably maybe 10 people in the community will sift through and read the entire thing. It might pick some things here and there, but they're not as interactive, they're not as engaging. I want to make it more engaging, to get more community involvement and more transparency and help the community be excited about that. So I'm saying, okay, here's my CIP plan. It's that document that I showed you before, that PDF. I just grabbed this off the internet from the city of Fairfield, Iowa. So shout out to Fairfield, Iowa for having their CIP plan so readily accessible online. So I gave it that and said, okay, I want to do this that way residents can learn more about the projects and how they're funded. And so with this, it's going to come through and it's going to say, okay, now how do we build this? So it says, okay, happy to help you build this interactive website for your CIP. Look at the CIP document and see the different sources. So it's kind of chunking the information. This is okay. Before I create the plan, a couple of quick questions to ensure the website meets your needs. What type of interactive features would you like to see? Filter by type, department, year, funding sources. Do you want to click on projects to see the detailed information? Do you want to view projects on an interactive map? Do you want data updates? Do you have the data in a structured format like Excel or CSV? Or do you want to just extract that from the PDF? In this example, all I had was that PDF. Obviously, if I'm building something internally, I might have access to other structured formatted data, like an Excel file, like a CSV. That might make it a little bit easier to be able to upload and to build something off of something like this. As you'll see later on, talk about the interactive map, had some difficulties with that, creating an interactive map. But if I had the right locations or things like that, that could have been just fine. So answer these different questions. Okay, here's what I want to do. Yes to all the questions on 1. On 2, what I have is what I gave you. And on 3, I think we just want to start with static visualizations and see where we go from that. So now it has everything it needs, and it's going to come through and try to create for us a interactive dashboard for us. It's going to, you can see down here, it says it's vibing. So the vibe coding thing about it. One of the things I like about Replit and how it does it is I can actually go and look in all the files and look at the code. I can see how it's built. I can test everything. I can see everything. And that gives me some bit of assurance to make sure that everything I'm doing is done the right way. So here it asked me two different options. It said, do I want to start with just the design? Do I want to see just a prototype first and then iterate on visuals and features? Or do I want to build the entire app? And right away it says, okay, this could take about 20 minutes. I think they were definitely underestimating the time. It took a lot longer than 20 minutes to build this application. But you can see here, it's just going to start going through. It's going to start building this whole thing together. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here for the interest of time until we can see kind of the dashboard come to life. I'm just skipping ahead here until we can get this going here. You can see how much work it's putting into on this. And on the left side, if you can see this, it's talking through all the different steps of building. It's talking about different things it's doing right here. On here, I'm looking at, okay, do I need to change anything in terms of the features of this app? Am I change how it's built at all? Do I want to use the high power tool? If I wanted to, I could obviously do that. It costs more money to do something like that. So for this one, I just kept it as is with a high autonomy level. I didn't go all the way to max, um, but basically give it a high level of autonomy to be able to build this. So now it's going to implement the backend with all the CIP data and create the storage interface, API endpoints, and see the database with project data from the PDF. Again, let's skip ahead here. And here, I'll go back. Let's see until it can kind of come to life here. Here we go. And now you can see as it's about to kind of come to life, it's loading the page on the right side of the screen. And here we're going to see our first interaction with the Fairfield capital improvement plans for fiscal years 21 through 25. So on this example too, okay, restart the application, get everything done here. I'm going to skip ahead just a little bit here, go back 10 seconds here so you can see as it builds this thing up here together. I can click on something like explore projects, for example. I'll click on it here shortly. We'll click explore projects, and then we can see how we can interact with this CIP plan. Now it's still being built. It's still, still being built right now, but allows me some interaction to kind of play around with it, see what works, see what doesn't work right as it's being built. And then I can go in on the left side, and just like I talked to ChatGPT, I can go in and say, hey, change this, or I want this updated, or I want this feature instead. I can do all those different things right there um, within the prompt window. So we'll skip ahead here just a little bit here. You can see here, click explore projects, and now we can see filter by all the departments that are on there. So you can click fire, for example, and I can see the CIP project for the fire department. Looks like there was some things for equipment. Go back to browse all projects. I can look at all the ones across all of the city right here. Again, view details. I can see what's going on. It's like the equipment as well too. Because this is for the water department. Other thing too, I didn't ask you to do this, but actually gave me the link to the city website and also gave me a contact us page as well too, which I believe is just to a generic city contact email as well. But you can see that link works right there as well. So we can open this up into our Outlook app right here, and here it is. And it'll give us an email to city@fairfieldiowa.gov, which I believe is probably grabbed from the CIP page for community feedback or things like that. So again, just it added that without even me asking to add that information. It grabbed away because it knew it wanted to be, again, if I want to be transparent with residents, if I want to provide them with information, maybe there's some questions that they might have. Maybe they want to go to the city website to find more information about our budget and tools like that. Maybe they have a question about a CIP project, or maybe there's one in the works right now they want to provide feedback on, especially transportation projects or something like that. It provides them with the ability to contact and reach out to our city. So again, I can look at funding sources as well. I can see all the different funding sources we have, from the general fund to road task to the water fund to wastewater fund, from general obligation debt to revenue debt, and all these different categories of information we can have right here to provide a robust understanding of how something as complicated as a CIP project, how they're really built, right? There's so many different funding sources. I think of just something as simple as a a road project in front of a development, right? That's going to be funded maybe through some of your HERF dollars. Maybe there's some development impact fees that are part of that. Maybe you're contributing general fund dollars to that. Maybe there's a grant, like a CDBG grant that's part of that too, or an infrastructure grant of some sort. There's different funding sources. And so providing that information to our residents helps get them more informed that yes, hey, everyone has a part to play in the CIP project. It's not only tax, sales tax dollars or property tax dollars that are going to this. Everyone is having a part to play within this project here. So on this one, I'm asking to kind of give a interactive chart on the home page showing the different departments and how much each department has, the amount of projects by departments. And I can do this. Again, it's going through, it's still building this. And what this is simply going to do is it's going to add this idea, it's going to add this task into the queue, into the project queue. So you think of it as you have a project you're working on. I always like to think of it in terms of you know people. If I was hiring a staff of individuals to build something like this, I'd say, okay, hey, build this interactive dashboard or build this interactive piece or whatever we're building here. And then maybe down the road, be like, hey, I really think we should change this here or make a couple tweaks here and there, right? You would add that to the queue, and then your project team would put in the queue and implement that as appropriate. So it says, okay, hey, we've got everything together. It's still creating the information. I added a task to the queue. It asked me if I wanted to continue building or anything like that, or gave me a checkpoint to see if I want to test it out or continue building. I said, yeah, let's keep building and let's add that interactive map if we can and see where that goes. And so we can build some kind of interactive map for the project so you can see and map out where the projects are. Now, I think this is super, super helpful. And I know a lot of cities do this, especially for something as complicated as, say, a road project or something like that. Maybe you want to map out where the different road projects are across your city to show your entire city your transportation plan for your entire community. And you want to show, hey, look, it's not just this one intersection here, it's these intersections here, here, and here across the city that we're looking to improve and make transportation a little bit easier on our residents and the guests that come into our community. I'm going to skip ahead here a little bit. We can get to more of the good stuff here. Let me skip ahead here to after this. So it takes a while to kind of build this whole thing out. And you can see here on the left screen, let's see if I can pull this up here in a second. On the left side, basically, I pulled up here, right? This is very similar to what you might have seen in agent mode in ChatGPT, right? That computer vision, right? So you can kind of see what it's doing within as it's building this in the back end. I just see the output right now, but behind on the right side of the screen. On the left side, you can kind of see where the information is going. There's a little cursor on the side there that's kind of click on things, and you actually see it being built in real time, which to me is a lot of fun, able to see what's going on, see how it's being built, and sometimes get frustrated because I'm like, why are they clicking that there? It's not the wrong place to click things, but it's all setting all good in the end of it though. Let's go ahead and skip ahead some more here. Let's skip ahead until we get here. Okay, so it's adding in the queue. You can see it's going to add the interactive graph. We'll skip ahead until we get more to the interactive graph. Let's go back here. Okay, here we go. I want to show you how it updated and built that map. Okay, here it is. So it's now finishing up adding the location coordinates to projects. Now, one thing I want to note too is that there was a lot of great information in terms of coordinates on the CIP plan, but it gave some basic idea of where it thought it should be. It wasn't 100% accurate. If I had exact coordinates, like in a structured CSV file or a structured Excel file, then much, much easier. But it did its best work. And so hopefully you can kind of see what it could do. And if you provide the right information, just how much more valuable that would be to a project like this. Okay, so here we have the map you can see on the right side. It's going to rebuild it again, and it's going to load this page back up. And we can look at and see we actually have a map feature now. If I skip ahead here, You can see on the left side a little bit of that map. It's going to add all the different project markers, and I can click on map here, and I can see all the different locations. That's going to plot these things out by dots onto an interactive map. And I can look at all the different departments. For instance, I can look at the street department, see 20 different projects, and I can click on here, and I can see, okay, there's the reconstruction of a road there of Maryland Carpenter. I can look at that. I can scroll down and see where that's located. Again, not necessarily accurate in location, but you can kind of see the basic idea of it. Like if I have location data, that'd be much, much easier. Engineering for bond services there. And again, all these different plots are completed right there on the map. And how cool is that to be able to take your CIP project and visualize that for your community? And be able to see, hey, where are these different things located across the city? What's going on here? One thing I note too, just for again, the importance of checking your data. This was for projects from 21 to 25. For whatever reason, when I imported it from the PDF, it thought that all the projects were all in years. The first year of the CIP plan, 20 to 21. Most likely that's not the case. Most likely there's going to be things that push to year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. So always want to make sure you check that. Again, it goes back to the value of having structured data. While you can build things like this within a tool like Replit, you can do it from a PDF. There are some limitations. I think it's really important to understand that there are some limitations. And the more structured, the more defined your data is, the better you'll be with building any type of application like such. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. You can see what it's building, kind of see the picture of it, what it's going to create here, and hopefully inspire you all to kind of think through again, back to the beginning, we talked about what are the different ways in which you can apply this in your role in your organization. And when you think about that, what you want to build, I like kind of starting with the end in mind and then kind of build back from there. Okay, what would I need to do that? What's my vision for this? What's my why behind it? What am I trying to communicate? On something like a transparency portal like this, one of the things we always talk about, at least in my team, is okay, what's the story? What do we want people who are looking at this, what do we want them to walk away doing, right? What do we want them to walk away with? Not just for the sake of information, not just, information is great. I feel like we are overloaded with information in our day and age, but what are the different actions I want? If I'm doing this for my community, what are the different actions I want them to take away? Maybe I want them to be more involved and have their voice heard at building a CIP plan. Maybe I want them to maybe give a little more patience to road construction individuals as they're driving through these intersections, to be a little more neighborly with residents who might be driving a little slower through these intersections with construction. But having that end in mind, having that outcome in mind, I think is super, super important. We're talking about building something like this because it's really easy to build it. And sometimes because of how easy it is to build it, we can forget that important piece of connecting it to our why. And always starting with the why is such a powerful and helpful way of thinking this through. So we start with the why, and we can move our way back to, okay, what do we need to accomplish the why? What information is going to be relevant to be able to accomplish that why? And then based on information, how do we get that information formatted? What's the best way to format information that way it can be easily digested into a program like Replit, or even to something if you have your own tool, right? Maybe you're building something like this into a Power BI or a Tableau or something like that. Having to know, okay, how do I get my data structure to get to the output I want to get to? I'm going to skip ahead here and grab a cup of coffee. There we go. Let's skip ahead and show you kind of what this looks like at the end here. Again, skip ahead here so we can still have some time for questions. You can see it's kind of building this entire thing out. I'm gonna back up here. So this is um, the queue we asked it to do. We can put in a dashboard that allows me to see departments, different funding sources by departments, right? And how many departments are reflected in the CIP plan by um, by investment dollars. You can see that streets, the Fairfield looks like they're investing a lot into their streets, investing, close to, I think it looks like close to $2 million in the CIP budget is dedicated to streets. You have about $1.1 million, just over $1.1 million dedicated to wastewater and wastewater infrastructure. You have a significant investment. They have a significant investment, over $500,000 in their ambulance program, close to over $500,000 in their water. So these are different things you can kind of show your community, just quickly visualize this. Some people might something like this maybe want to change this to a pie chart instead, or something like that. Depends what you want to do. I just said build a dashboard or build an interactive graph. I obviously could have been a lot more specific with that, but that's fine. We could have been much more specific on building that out. But here you can see just how easy it would be just to be able to display this information. Now we have this entire thing all built here at once. The entire thing is put together from a CIP idea all the way to our interactive dashboard we have built all the way out. So let me show you this now in real time, what this dashboard actually looks like. We can kind of play around with it a little bit here. I'm going to go to my screen share, and bear with me 1 second. It's doing this right here, but don't worry, we'll go back to it here. Go to replit.com. I'm going to log in here. I can look at all my different apps I've built right here. So here's our Civic Plan Interactive, it's called. They just named it random things. You can name it if you want to. I'm going to load the workspace up here, hopefully. And the cool thing about this too is this is basically building an interactive website. One of the things you can do is we could click publish, and you could publish this to any type of URL, right? If you have a URL, maybe it's Fairfield, Iowa, CIPprojects.com. You have that as your URL. You can publish this and connect it to that URL or to a link on your city page with the, you can do that. You don't have to always have it on replit.com or replit.dev. You can publish it to a separate URL here. So here is our Fairfield capital improvement budget here. I'm going to go here so you can see a little better. Hopefully this is a little easier for you all to see. Our capital improvement plan, a 5-year investment overview, the different departments. You can see it's again interactive, so I can see this right there. What is a capital improvement plan? Details this out. Ready to explore. Let's browse all projects. And again, I can look at all these different projects that are in the CIP plan. So for instance, if I want to click right here on the recon of Merrill and Carpenter, Fourth to Orchard, look and view details. It's funded by the local option sales tax, looks like. Design type is from outside. Contract type is bid. Looks like 390,000 to construction, 36,000 to EDC. We can learn more. We can okay, how do I understand funding sources? What are the different funding sources that are appropriate here? You can have all this information here. I can even go to map, for instance, and look at all the different projects here. And again, you should see as we look at this, let's scroll back up here, it's a little easier to see. If I click on 24, 25, again, didn't bring that data in. This is why it's important to verify, to test your data and make sure it's coming in. If it was structured, I would have a lot more confidence with bringing it in the right way. Again, something to keep in mind. I can look at this. This is all departments here. I can click right here. I can look at view details. This is a 36 by 64 by 16 metal building, which is cold storage for a backhoe flatbed and some kind of pipe. It could be just pipe they want to store there. Again, I can see all this information right there. Go back to the map if I want to. I can zoom out or things like that and see all the information right here on the map. You can see all the different things. This map is kind of created by Leaflet or OpenStreetMap, so an open source mapping tool. Makes it a little easier to use. I think you could tie that to maybe an ArcGIS or to your Azure account or something like that. Again, it's really, really easy to any kind of idea you have, anything you want to build. If you have an idea, you can do it, right? This is showing this as an example just because I think it's really powerful. I think it has a lot of applications across all of local government. But whatever you come up with, you can build the same thing. You can go to replit.com again. This is one of my favorite ones. Other ones that are like this is another tool called Relevance AI. Is another tool that are kind of like this vibe coding kind of idea. But anything you can just describe anything you want. You can say, build a web app for our budget, build a web app for tracking 311 calls, or build an agent that does that. Anything you can think of, you can build if you have an idea for it. And one more thing while I'm thinking about it too, I do want to show you where all this information is stored in. I'm going back over here to the original page here. One of the things I like about this is you can go back and check all the different work, right? You can do that. You can look at the database and see all the different information that's in there, all the different project data. You can look at the setting to change anything there. You can look at the console to see how that's working right there. You can look at the preview thing. So all this information, you can click here on the side and find other ways to be able to interact with your information there too. But all this information here is all right here. If I wanted to change something, for instance, I'm like, hey, I don't like that it's called Fairfield Capital Improvement Plan. I can click here and say change to Fairfield, Iowa CIP. I'll put this in quotation marks. Again, it's all conversational. And so if you scroll on the latest, it's going to start working on it. And pretty soon it should change that to Fairfield, Iowa CIP. So anything you want to change, if you're like, I don't like the color blue, right? I'm more of maybe you're an Ohio State fan, or an Alabama fan, or a Georgia fan. You're like, I don't like the color blue. Let's change this to the color red instead. You can change that as well too. You can add features. You can take away features. You're basically talking to this incredible tool that can build things from scratch, just the by your idea. And so you can see right here, we change that to Fairfield, Iowa CIP. Um, and all this information, again, easily editable. You can go and you can check the work. You can see what's going on. You can change things if you want to. We could come down here to the city website page right here. And maybe you want to change this to the city website, to the budget website. So I go to Fairfield, Iowa budget. Go down here. This is their official budget. Let's see if I can find their budget link. Administration right here. So you can find finance. There's a police department, street department, water department. There's finance right here. All the information on finance. And maybe I want to change this as a link for the city website. So I just click right here, select element. I can click right here and say change the hyperlink to, and paste that information right there. I'll think through, decided a footer hyperlink update. It'll work on that, and then it should provide us with the updated link to be able to have that information there. So in this, as you see on the video we kind of walked through before, this took, we kind of built it, kind of the idea for it ahead of time. But this took about a 2 hour process, a 2+ hour process to build this out, right? From the concept of it. One of the things I did too in the beginning was I was talking with ChatGPT first. Okay, ChatGPT, hey, I have this idea. I'm trying to think of ideas for agents and what we can do with it. What are your thoughts about building a interactive dashboard using a tool like Replit to be able to build that out? What are the different things? How do you think that would go? Right. So I talked to ChatGPT first about it, kind of gave me some parameters, some things to think through, how I can approach that. And then from there, went into Replit and then built that entire thing out from scratch. We can check here again, study website, and again, takes us to that updated link right there. So I know I put a lot of information in front of you, and I know that there might be some questions, there might be some comments and things like that. I want to save ample time for that. Hopefully, again, you can see where this is going. You can see the value of it. I know normally I like to go through, 4 to 5 different use cases, and something as complicated as this, I really wanted to slow things down to show you what that looked like from start all the way to finish, to show you that whole entire process, and really lean on you all to think through ways in which maybe this could be used in your world, right? Maybe this could be a tool that that you could use. It'll be an HR, maybe it's an HR recruiting dashboard and providing information on retention and recruitment stats internally in your organization. Maybe it's something you could provide publicly, like the CAP thing we showed, or a budget tool, or maybe it's something with maybe you want to display some of the localized, crime statistics that your police department is getting from the different databases that they contribute information to. Maybe they want to display that information, that public information, to give people a sense of what's going on and help them feel more safe and secure in their community. So whatever it is, if you can imagine it, you can do it. And that's the really cool feature now about tools like Agentic AI, tools like vibe coding or things like that, is the ability to do that. Again, where we emphasize this because I think it's so, so important with a tool like this. This is a really, really powerful tool, right? I don't think ever before in the history of our existence as humanity have we ever been able just to say something all of a sudden it comes to life, kind of a Genesis 1-esque kind of creativity that we have at our disposal now. But with such power does come great responsibility, not to overuse the cliche. So making sure you have frank and honest conversations with your IT team, especially those who are overseeing cybersecurity and data security, understanding the things that they're seeing, understanding the legal implications of things like that, being on the same page is really important. And it's really important to have those conversations prior to build anything. You can have a great idea, talk with IT about that. Talk with the legal team about what you're trying to accomplish and why you think this is the best tool to accomplish that in the end result. But always making sure you're having those open and honest dialogues with the partners across the city that are going to be responsible for maintaining that data and maintaining the security and integrity of that information as well, right? Something like this, I didn't mention it, but it definitely deserves notice or note as well is your communication teams, your PIOs. If you're going to produce something that's publicly available, produce a dashboard, talk to your PIOs, please. Let them know. That way, when they start getting the questions, they're not like, "What dashboard are you talking about? We don't have a dashboard. What are you talking about?" Give them on the same page. That way, you can build something that's really, really valuable for your community, and you can accomplish. Again, back to that why, right? Understand the why, what you're trying to accomplish, and what or anything like data or anything that's displaying to me with data. Always have that question of, okay, what do I want people who are viewing this? What do I want people to walk away doing? Not just knowing, but actually doing. How do we make sure we can turn our knowledge into action? I'll leave you with this final thought. Saw this a couple days ago. It stuck with me since then. It's been knock on the back of my head. It was a comment from a Reddit thread, which I guess a blind squirrel finds them not every once in a while, as they say. But it said this. It said, in a world where the cost of knowledge is zero, wisdom becomes priceless. I just love that idea. And so, in things like this, use your wisdom. It's really easy to get information. It's really easy to build these different tools, these different knowledge things, right? Wisdom was what we need most in local governments right now. So, Mike, is there any questions from our webinar viewers and our wonderful local government across the US here?
Yeah, we may have some. If you have a question, use the chat box or the Q&A feature. I have a couple of questions. One is, are you guys using this in Maricopa any?
So we do some stuff internally. We're not doing anything externally, but we've definitely built different things internally in terms of just, budget information. If I want to display quickly, something as simple as overtime information for police and fire, it gives me a quick sense of how to display it, how to track that, where the different, information, where the different areas that might be contributing more to that than others. So it's super helpful to be able to display information. Because one of the things we think about a lot is, everyone from our lieutenants to our battalion chiefs to our court administrators, we're all budget managers at the end of the day. And so to
Mm-hmm.
provide them with financial literacy that way they know what's going on with their budget, to me is super, super important. I can't, I can't get on a lieutenant for mismanaging the budget. I've been given the tools to be able to manage it in the first place. So
Yeah.
to us, that's really important.
Wow. Second, do you think Replit could build a plan to get the Dallas Cowboys back to the Super Bowl? Is that feasible or is that out of the question?
So, Mike, I don't think so. And one of the reasons I don't think so is my brother is a chef for the Arizona Cardinals, and so I think one of the reasons why they won Monday night is due to the nutrition that they received that week. So, um, and when they
Yeah.
lose, Mike, I tell my brother that he's must not be providing enough protein and nutrition to the team because
Uh,
obviously it's not working.
well, since the Cowboys are up on doing a lot of trades, maybe we can trade the nutritionist there, the chefs.
Maybe, yeah, yeah, yes. See if we can trade for a good nutritionist. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and one last question, and Houston, you may have one, but give us a idea, Replit. What's that cost? What's the cost for a subscription for that?
The cost, so there's a basic cost for it, right? And so I think the cost is about 20 to 30 bucks a month. Now I build a lot of different things in Replit, so it's a scalable cost. And so if you use more of it, you do pay a higher price. I've built a number of different apps that I run on things like that. In fact, um, some of my own personal projects I do is all built through Replit. And so I pay about 50, 60 bucks a month. And I think I'm a pretty heavy user of it. Maybe not as much as others. I'm a pretty heavy user of a tool like Replit.
You can just see how you think about candidates for council, how something like that could be really great to use. I know a lot of cities like to brief people who file to run,
Mm-hmm.
you know, across the board, just so that they will be knowledgeable during their campaign. This would be
Yeah.
something that would be, I think, of enormous use to them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Be able to put that together. I know in our city council meetings, and similar, we do a little video prior to the council meeting explaining, rules of decorum and how we want to act civilly with each other. It's a quick little video. It's about 3 to 5 minute video, and it's just an interactive, animation video that was created, and the team did a great job. But those different things make such a big difference in our community
Oh,
to
yeah.
achieve stability. And especially when you get into election season where we seems like we lose our senses a little bit when election season rolls around. To to provide information to again that outcome, like that
Yeah.
outcome is so important about the why, and the why can be just how do we regain civility within our communities even during election years.
Yeah. Halson, I'm gonna throw it to you. I see we've got a question, but you may have a question too that you want to ask personally, and we'll try to answer a couple of these before we sign off.
I
Let's
think you're
see.
muted,
You're
Austin.
you're muted, Halson. Mm. I tell you what, while you're trying to figure that out, I'll go to this question. You may see it too, Micah, but talk a little bit
Yeah.
more about how you used it to look at public safety overtime.
Yeah, so on something like that, obviously having I want to protect the identity of individuals. And I can track over time by individuals with our reports that we have. And so what I'm looking for basically there is not individuals that are contributing to overtime, but types. So how much is sick leave contributing to our overtime? How much is overtime or is vacation leave contributing to overtime? How much is call outs or holdover or you know different events that we might have, how are these things contributing to overtime? And we'll track that. And I can do a year over year comparison to see, okay, is there anything that's changing with how we're managing overtime, how we're looking at it, that we can kind of tweak here and there from a leadership perspective or from a systems
Mm.
perspective. I don't put individuals' name in there. In fact, I take all that stuff out. And when we export it, we use Munis as our kind of our CRM platform for the city, and so I'm able to export that data, anonymize that data, upload that into a tool that we have from Replit, and then kind of see, okay, how much of this is from vacation leave this past week? How much of it is sick leave? And then I can also track over time too, what are the different cycles? If you have kids, you're not going to be surprised by this, but typically the week after school returns, we see a higher amount of sick call outs. So again, that petri dish of schools, people get sick. And so we can track that, we can see that, and that means that we can staff maybe a little more aggressively and have a little
Mm.
higher, maybe we don't let people take vacation during that week. Maybe we do, but we'll figure that out, right? But it kind of gives us a sense of what that looks like over time.
That's a lot of behind the scenes work that provides even better service and safety to your residents. And nobody sees that or no, I mean, we take it for granted, but man, what a great thing. Is there a special way you structure that data when you're trying to make a case for overtime?
Not necessarily. It's already pretty well structured within the Munis export that we receive. The only thing I'm doing there is I'm taking out the columns that have individuals' names on it. And I'm just looking at, so I'll delete those columns, save it as a new file, and then that way it's all anonymized. I'm more interested in not in the structure, I'm more interested on protecting information, protecting the identity of individuals, because I
Yeah.
want to evaluate this as a whole and not based on individuals.
All right. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Halson, are you back with us?
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we got you.
Awesome. Yeah,
We
I
give you
just have
the
a
final
very
question or comments.
thanks. Yeah, it might not be the most exciting one, but it's very much like I think like an operational one, right? So like say you make a great interactive like website or something for Replit. How do you, even for personal projects, right? I understand maybe for local you can't do it external facing, but do you just use the Replit link, or are you converting that to a certain website? Because I've faced challenges. Like I have this beautiful interactive thing, right? But like,
Mhm.
is that the final? Yeah. How do you make it so like you could put it on your LinkedIn, for example, and say, hey, we have this website full of great information. Uh,
Yep. So basically, the same way you would build any other website, say in like a Squarespace, or if Granicus was building a website for your city or something like that, they'll build the website and then they'll match it to that URL. And so basically, the same idea. When you publish it, you can grab your own URL that you've already purchased, your own domain name and stuff like that, and then just using your DNS records and things like that, connect it to that unique URL, and then you just share that URL with the world or whoever you want to have that URL.
Got it. So you're keeping the replit link pretty much and just having it redirect every time
Yep,
you
just
click on the
redirect
domain
it.
you bought. Got
Yep,
it.
into that. You
Okay,
can do it
wow.
that way. Yeah, and it loads up
Thank you.
pretty fast. I've had no issue with it loading fast and like that. It loads up rather quickly. I don't see any much of a lag time compared to the ones I just keep in Replit versus the ones I go live on. Not a whole lot of difference.
Wow. All right. Well, Micah, this has been one of my favorite ones. I really am fascinated with it and the applications. Just really appreciate it. And thank you so much for the time you put into this and the things you're teaching us. It's very helpful.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you, Hosta, and of course, thank you, Lisa, as well on the ones and twos in the background, keeping us all on point. Appreciate all the work you all do, and thank you to everyone joining this call as well too.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, and appreciate everyone that's been a part of this. Thank you, Lisa Shook, for your work behind the scenes. We couldn't do this without you, and we want to wish all of you a great day, and we'll see you down the road.